Hey, welcome back. My name is Krishna, and I'm so glad that you could join me today because in this video, I'm going to share with you some techniques that I use to actually draw gears in Photoshop and how I combine those gears with some Fumetti techniques, which are basically a technique utilizing photographs to help make illustrations to create something that looks very intricate and complicated like we have here. So let's start off by actually learning how to draw a gear. I will start off by just drawing a letter U in kind of like a serif letter U. And directly underneath that, I'll just put a small circle. Next, what I'll do is I'll hit Command J to make a copy, Control J for Windows. Then I'll hit Command T. This will give me the transform tool. I will take the pivot point and simply just drag it all the way down. Now, the longer I drag this pivot point down, the bigger the gear I'll make. So in this case, I want a medium-sized gear, so this looks pretty good. I'll then rotate the copy about the pivot point, and I'll hit Enter. And I'm going to use my good old Shift Option Command T to make copies. And you can see that as I repeatedly hit this keyboard shortcut, we're getting something that resembles a gear. Now, it may not always be perfect. You can see that there's a little bit of an imperfection here, and that's okay because I was just, winging it for this particular demo. It's really not so much of an issue. You could probably end up fixing it just by being a little bit more precise. What I can do is, for this particular demo here, I can cheat it a little bit. Looks decent, like from a distance, right? Okay, so we've got this gear and we've got these circles. I can make a copy of that gear by hitting Command J, Command T, and I'm just going to shrink it about the center by holding down the Option and the Shift key at the same time. And all of a sudden I've got this really complex looking gear. Pretty neat. And just for giggles, I'll just make it a little bit offset to where it looks like the inner gear is a little bit different from the outer gear. Now I can merge those by hitting Command J and selecting those two layers. I can also change the color by hitting Command U and bringing the lightness all the way to the left. So now we have this now in black. So the next step here is I'll make a few additional copies of this gear. I'll hit Command J, move the copy over, and I'll move it down a little bit so it looks like the gears are actually meshing. And I'll do the same thing by making a third copy. I'll hit Command J, and I'm going to move this gear right here. So it's a little bit off or outside of the composition, which is fine. I will group those layers by shift selecting them, hitting Command G for group. I'll just call this gears. They're all in the same group here. And I want to be able to fill color inside each of these gears. So what I'm going to do is on a new layer, I will first select everything outside of my gears. And then I will Shift Command I to inverse the selection, and I'll fill in that red color, Option Delete. And if I wanted to, I can select all the individual holes. That's just going to take way too long to do for this video, but you can go ahead and clear that out. But that will get us started. And there's a few areas here that your selection tools may have missed. No problem. You can always come back in and use the magic wand tool to precisely extract them out. So there we go. We have something that we can work with. Now comes the part that I think is the most interesting. So once we've created those gears, I want to house those gears into some kind of a mechanical structure. So this structure will actually exist behind the gears themselves. I'm just creating some type of shape. I'm not really too worried about what that shape is. I'm just using a lot of straight lines. And now I'm going to bring in a photograph. And I've got this image that I pulled from UnSplash. I'll move it up so you can see it a little bit better. It's just a series of gears. Looks pretty interesting. And I'll put a link back to the artist or the photographer who actually took this picture so that you can take a look at it and practice this technique on your own. But this, the reason why I like this particular image is it has a lot of like chains and a lot of bolts and a lot of different other size gears, different gears with different types of teeth. And what I'll do is I'm going to hit D to get my foreground color to black, my background color to white. And I'm going to go up to the filter menu. I'm going to go to filter gallery. I will go to the sketch folder. I will choose stamp. And as you can see here, if I zoom out, we're getting a pretty, it almost mimics inking, but it's not quite. It's just basically applying a filter to give this photograph this specific look. And I can adjust the darkness or the lightness as I see fit. And I'm going to just click OK because I'm pretty happy with that. And I've got these gears in place. And what I can do is move this down because I want it to actually fit into the area that I've created, that border. And let's now move this behind our border so we can actually see what parts we want to trim out. So everything outside of the border is going to be cut out. So the first thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and commit this smart object. So this filter that's being applied to this photo has turned it into a smart object. If I right click, I can rasterize the layer. That basically commits that change. And anything outside of the border here, I want to eliminate. So my trick for that is to hide the photo layer, use the magic wand tool. It helps select everything outside of this box that I've drawn. Then I'll go ahead and bring back the photo. I'll hit Command X, and there we go. Now we have just the gears inside this particular area. And then finally, what I'll do is I can change the red here. I'll just click the red, make a new layer. I'll just change that to white, and I'll change the border to black, and that completes the effect. So now we have something that looks very complex, looks very mechanical, and we were able to use some illustration techniques to draw gears, and then we were able to combine that with some Fumetti techniques, which is using photographs to aid the illustration. So this is something that I believe happens quite a bit within comics, at least from what I've seen. Anytime you're looking at something very intricate or complicated, there's a good likelihood that the artist is leveraging some of these techniques. They might use the Fumetti technique and actually hand ink on top of it, or they might just wholesale use that particular Fumetti technique as is, just like I've shown you here. So if you found some value in this video, I would definitely appreciate a thumbs up. More tips like this are coming along the way. If you have any ideas for upcoming videos or topics for videos, please drop them in the comment. If you've watched this far, let me know what was the most valuable part of this video. What was the thing that you really hung on to? And that would really be helpful for me. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. See ya.